Welcome to the What's Over Dick podcast. We fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-hosts Mattson and Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead and hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification buttons. Keep up with all of our episodes. Help us grow the podcast. Tell a friend about us. Tell a family member about us. Tell an aspiring editor about us or a ruthless boss about us. Maybe be careful about. Never mind. I'll stop there. I was going to say maybe be careful about telling Canadians about us right now, but you know,
bring it on, Canada.
I still love our Canadian neighbors. Yeah, there it is. We're kicking off a new month in April. It is chick flicks. I think, for lack of a better label, I think we're trying to go raunchy, but I'm the only fucking one that put raunchy shit on the list.
Hold up.
And one of them did get picked.
No.
The one I wanted really to get picked didn't get picked because I was like, I couldn't wait to have you guys.
This is the month of B-rate chick flick movies, is what Tate said.
There you go.
I don't think that's the official title. It's Alec's month.
That's fair. It was Alec's choice. That's how we ended up with chick flicks. But to kick off April in chick flick month, we're starting with The Proposal. It was released June 19th, 2009. It was written by Peter Chiarelli, directed by Ann Fletcher, stars Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds, Mary Steenburgen, Craig T. Nelson, Betty White, Dennis O'Hare, Malin Ackerman, Oscar Nunez, and Michael Nouri. It is about a New York editor, Margaret, who faces deportation. She convinces her assistant, Andrew, to marry her in return for a promotion. However, when she visits his hometown, it changes her in many ways. That was a really good start. And then the synopsis went at the end. So not untrue, but kind of lame. This one's not my pick. Was this a Mattson pick?
This is a fucking Mattson pick.
Tell us why, Mattson. Tell us.
Oh, The Proposal.
Or is this a Taylor pick?
I knew it would make her happy because this is a movie that she really enjoys. Ironically enough, when we watched it the other day on Monday, she fell asleep and didn't watch like a single bit of it.
Wow.
Wow. This is a movie that I just know, like, a lot of people have seen it. It's got Ryan Reynolds, Sandra Bullock, like a lot of star power from a comedic perspective. I'm not like in love with this movie or any stretch of the means. Like, I wish we would have had Mean Girls on here. I'll go to the Woodshed. I love that movie. Having watched this movie again, I don't know. I just don't think I like Ryan Reynolds all that much, and it just wears on me. And I've watched this movie and was kind of just disappointed.
It's fair. Alec, what do you think about The Proposal? I think I have an idea based on your comments, but
so this is a weird one because this is like the very first chick flick I saw.
Really?
Like, with a girl.
Oh, okay.
Like not with Javier or with my sister, like with a girl.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it, but there's funny moments, right? And so this is where I think someone should have told Ryan Reynolds, hey, stop. I love like over the top Ryan Reynolds, but his earlier stuff, like the Van Wilders, is where I'm like, that's peak Ryan Reynolds. Someone should have said, whoop, pump the brakes a little bit. Stay where you're at. You got a good thing going, because it just spins out of control. But for me, it's a great idea that just turned stupid. And so there's like two lines in this movie that I enjoy, and it's Christmas in a Cup. That I will say all the time for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then the sarcastic, congratulations, I'm 100 years old, when like Sandra Bullock is climbing down the ladder, and when they first get to Alaska and they're going on the boat. And like those two things are just lovely Ryan Reynolds in being a sarcastic form. But outside of that, I'm like, the best part of this movie outside of that is Oscar Nunez.
Betty White, dude. Between the two of them, come on. Yeah. The two of them together, like those two, yes, they steal the movie.
Well, where are your boobs? I'm sure they're in there.
Yeah, Betty White's funny as fuck, dude. But yes, Oscar Nunez is just as funny. Like he steals the movie.
It's like it's that kind of thing where we talked about last month with Kevin Costner, right? He's not the best person in any of his sports movies, and that's what I feel about The Proposal. Is like Ryan Reynolds and Sandra Bullock. No, thank you. Do The Proposal again, but like you said, Betty White and Oscar Nunez, like that shit would have been hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Thanks, Mattson. What was hard for me, Ryan Reynolds at times, like when some of his sarcastic stuff does land, but then when he's trying to be like actually normal or serious or emotional, like sometimes it's hard for me to get a read on like, is that the emotion I'm supposed to be feeling? Because it still has like the same type of delivery when he's like telling her to shut up and expressing his feelings or actually coming to the realization that he's in love with her. I didn't really find it to be believable. And yeah, this is a chick flick and it's kind of outlandish, but like the movie wants you to believe that. But I like just the way that he delivers it, never really felt it. And then I think obviously we've seen Sandra Bullock in other movies. She's a great actor, clearly. I mean, she's got accolades for it, but they made her so like boss lady, straight laced, and then they tried to chip away at that. But I never felt like it was really as effective and believable as this movie needed it to be to actually make the outlandish, hey, we're going to stay together, even though I hate this lady for the past 3 years. I don't know if they tried to do it in that bedtime scene of when she shared some of those facts and things. You're like, oh, this is their moment where they start to click. And you're like, okay. But you're like, this is not, you need like 10 more scenes of this if we're like to chip away at that. But you knew it wasn't going to happen because they got to do it in a weekend. I don't know. I just didn't. I knew it was supposed to be far fetched and outlandish, but it just never really landed. But there's some parts like the naked scene. Like if you don't, Alec, if you didn't think that was funny, that part makes me laugh just because that's the thing I remember the most is them just hitting each other like two beached whales. And like, I love that, but I wanted to like this movie more, and I've seen it a few times, but for whatever it was this time, like maybe it's because Taylor was asleep, but I wasn't feeling it as much as I've laughed at it in the past more. But I don't know. I just think maybe it's one too many times with Ryan Reynolds and just being kind of annoyed with Sandra Bullock being so straight laced, and I know she can be funnier, and wishing they wrote her to have a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I love Ryan Reynolds. I think he's hilarious, but I do think he's better when he's uncorked, when they're not trying to get a PG-13 rating. Ryan Reynolds lives in crass, rude mode, and that's really where he is at his best. I will say I don't hate this movie. My biggest beef with this movie is they spend too much time on his family drama than they do on these two's relationship. And everything that has to do with their relationship once they hit Alaska has more to do with his family dynamics and how this is impacting that than it does them getting together. And so like that's where I get to the end and I'm like, and the shitty ass line, like I hate it, where it's like, Margaret, will you marry me? Because I want to date you. I'm like, fuck you. Like, what a shitty line. But like, I overall don't hate the movie. I just think they got lost on the wrong things. Because you have, and I get why they did. You have Betty White, you have Craig T. Nelson. You have some serious actors playing his family and previous friends that go along with these two A-list leading people. But to Mattson's point, like if I get to the end and I'm supposed to believe that they're going to go through the process, the true process of an immigration situation, which I have a friend that went through, and it is not funny or easy at all. Like it's quite intrusive and shitty. So it's like watching that play out as comedic relief, and then they go through all this stuff. I'm like, I would have been more impressed if she'd have been like, I'm just going to go back to Canada. I'll see you in a couple years or a year or whatever it is. And then he has a reconnection with his family and maybe opens like a book publisher, small book publishing shop in Alaska or something. You know what that to me would have been more of an interesting swing than the ending of him like crashing back in the office and asking her to marry him. So it just doesn't, I don't buy it because they didn't put in the work for their relationship to me. Like it was more about rebuilding his family relationship than building theirs. So that, and she's annoying as I love Sandra Bullock. She's one of my favorite actresses, period. But her character annoys the shit out of me in this movie. Except when she's dancing in the woods with Betty White. Because that shit's, I fucking lose my shit every time. When she gets into it and starts singing fucking windows to the wall.
To the window.
Dude.
To the wall.
And Betty White's just like, yeah, feel it. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's funny you like that scene, Jake, because that felt like so just hodgepodged in, was like, feels so random that this is happening right now. But I get why, because they were trying to show that there was a time in her life when she did let loose and was like not a robot. But I was like, this is just an odd way to show that.
And I think I connect with it too, because I'm that kind of person that like on paper and like in the moment, like I'm not like gonna do stupid shit like that. But then just the right amount of peer pressure, and I'm the first guy to be like, I'll fucking do it. I don't care. Because I have no real shame. It's about whether or not I want to do it or whether or not I don't want to do it. And if you can turn that dial on me to where I'm in the middle or on the do it side, I'm probably going to do something for the entertainment value of it more than anything else. So watching her go through this where she's like, I'm not dancing. And then she just keeps like Betty White, like grandma keeps getting her. And she's like, finally, she's like, starts feeling it and doing it. And I'm like, yeah, I can see myself doing that shit. So like, that's why that scene gets me, because I mean, I'd be the idiot out there doing that shit and then finally getting into it and looking around and be like, oh, I forgot you guys were here. Because that's just how I am. And I should not be telling Alec things like that, because he's going to start ramping up the peer pressure now on weird shit. And I'll fucking do it.
I'm right there with you. You just ask my friends. I've done some dumb stuff, but
yeah. I will do it every time almost, unless it's going to cause severe harm to someone else. Myself, fine. Someone else, not so much. But
I just like Tay loves Hallmark movies, and they're all like cut from the same cloth and everything. But at least they're all the same premise. Someone lives in the big city and they come home to the small town, and they were friends in high school, and someone is like owns a hotel or an inn that's struggling, and they come help. But even the far-fetched stuff of that, I'm like, well, they had prior history. They have a reason to be back in this place. They like the things line up. Even it feels weird to say it lines up more in a Hallmark movie than this movie, where they're the suspension of disbelief. You're always supposed to kind of do that in chick flick a little bit, because things have to happen a little bit faster. I just feel like they tried to just be a little too in your face to say this is going to happen literally over a week, and you're like, all right, come on. He's literally typing out to the office like it is here, whatever, like, you know, the beast has landed or whatever they were saying, and you're telling me 3 days later that he loves her. That's where I was just like, you could have still done all of this, but stretch the timeline, or at least maybe started the movie where there was tendencies of like he hates her, but there's also small glimpses of like he's like, wow, like, okay, she did this or that, and given me more to go off of, and then go to that weekend. But it just felt like it was too much too fast.
See, that part actually doesn't bother me too much, because like Oshi and I, when we first met, we worked together, and she tried to get my ass fired like 3 times in the first week. And then just like some sort of light switch went off when we started spending a little bit more time together at work. That started the ball rolling. So it's the spending time together. I was like, okay, I get it. You know, when you create this different circumstance of now we're in close quarters, because they have that history and background from 3 years, just not in the right situation, but it's there. So that part doesn't bother me too much, because I'm also like, yeah, shit, my wife tried to get my ass fired. and it's like her biggest claim to fame. And it's like I can kind of see it.
I mean, she probably I don't was like right. It.
Oh no, she was 100% right. Like there's no question about that. But it's like, why the fuck did you change your mind? Like I didn't change. Yeah. You fucking changed.
The perception changed.
Yes, something along those lines. So it's not too big of a stretch for me considering the circumstances. But it's also just such a small part of what I don't like about this movie.
What's the big part that you don't like? Is it just Ryan Reynolds or like the...
No, because I like Ryan Reynolds. It's just the whole fucking stupid ass story.
It's fair. Yeah. It's fair.
And the line about sleeping your way into middle management, that hit home. A little too close to comfort.
Yeah, that's fair too. I do like that part though when she fires that dude and he just fucking melts down. That shit's and she's telling, don't do it. Don't come out of your office. Don't do it, Bob. No, I like that. And I think maybe that's where because I don't know. Like I'm so torn with this movie because there's moments of this movie that I really enjoy. Like there's parts like the stripper part, fucking hilarious. The dancing in the woods, hilarious. The guy losing his shit at the beginning, hilarious. The moment when they're telling the INS dude that they're going back to visit his family for Gammy's birthday, and he's like, Sitka, Alaska, like those little moments. Like there's tons of them where like I laugh. And they're great writing and lines, but I'm with you too, Alec. Like the whole thing together feels like patchwork. Like they didn't. It feels, and I guess I mentioned it earlier. It feels like two different stories pushed together into one, and so I get a little whiplash maybe through the movie, and then there's parts like where I'm just not interested at all. And the sad part is most of the shit I'm not interested in is the shit that they're doing in the relationship building parts. I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, I just want to see the weird, funny shit, like an eagle trying to steal a dog, like, and her throwing her phone at it or whatever the hell's her shoe or whatever. They're just moments that are hysterical, but overall, I'm like, it's all right, I guess. I feel like there's some poorly written pieces too.
That's basically how I feel through all of it. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. But Oscar,
I did like how they were explaining when they first got and how they got engaged. Like that I put yourself in their shoes about like, what would I say on the fly that would sound believable enough and position me in a good light? But I love that part was funny. And that's where I think Sandra Bullock actually, they allowed her to be more of like what you've seen her in other movies where they're that comedic back and forth. That part was funny. I was like, oh, I love this. They're trying to one up each other and make them look better than the other person. Like Ryan Reynolds cuts in. He's like, you're not about to make me look like the most feminine, non-masculine guy. Like I giggled during all that because I was like, man, I put myself in my shoes with that. That would be a little intense and like, what would I say? Like, what would I come up with on the fly? Because, everyone's glued to that conversation. Everyone wants to know.
Oh, yeah. And I don't love the naked scene when they come together, but I laugh my ass off when she's stuck in the bathroom trying to get a towel. And this little cute fluffy puppy is what's blocking her.
Gets out the blow dryer or whatever. She's like, I got you now or whatever. And he's like, oh, you like that?
Yeah. And the fact that she's like first comes out, she's standing there like covering her with one arm and her hands down covering her. Like she's like talking to this dog like, shoo, let me out. I just need to get a towel. That makes me laugh. And then the instant when they run into each other is funny. But I think the setup for the whole thing of them running, it took too long. Because like you start to see he's out on there pissed and getting undressed and she's fucking around with the dog. And I was just like, we know what's going to happen, but I want to see her fuck around with this dog more. But that's just me. But that part did make me laugh. And then when they're singing It Takes Two, when he started, that's because that grew up with that song. So I had a good time when they start busting that one out. It's good times. But yeah, there's great moments. But overall, I'm like, Not to sidetrack us, but what do you guys think about this whole Ryan Reynolds situation that's playing out in the media right now? Because he's certainly not looking very good. Do you guys even know what's going on?
I don't pay attention to.
I was gonna say I think I know, but I don't think I. Tell me more, because I think I've just heard shades of it.
I'll have to give a very brief, quick synopsis, but basically, there's a movie that came out recently called "It Ends with Us." It's based on a book. It's about, and it stars his wife. It doesn't even star Ryan Reynolds hadn't. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's his. And didn't she get like? Yeah, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, and the co-star, who's also the writer, director. There was a bunch of accusations that there was some serious ugly shit going on set with like sexual harassment, things like that. And so it came out that Blake Lively, Ryan's wife, was like the victim of all this really. And some of it sound like when you first hear about it, you're like, that sounds fucking terrible. Like, yeah, that's bad. And then he comes out and he's got like text messages and receipts and shit of like, she was actually the aggressor and this weird fucking shit. And the fact that Ryan Reynolds comes in and he like wrote a bunch, like he rewrote some of the story in the back end and then it got forced in. So there's just a whole fucking thing. Well, there's a lot of shit coming out now where everybody thought it was Blake Lively was the victim of this guy. And this guy has like a podcast. He's a huge feminist. I say it in air quotes because who knows what the actual definition of a feminist is anymore, but like he has this podcast and he's, female forward feminist type thing. And then all this shitty stuff was coming out about him. And then they come to find out that like Ryan Reynolds' portrayal of Nice Pool is allegedly like making fun of this guy because the Deadpool movie was being filmed after It Ends with Us. And so like, all of his portrayal of Nice Pool was supposedly him taking shots at this guy from this other movie. So everybody now is like, and I'm like, we're really paying attention to all this shit. But like, I don't know, like maybe he's an actual asshole in real life. Casey loves Blake Lively, his wife. So like as far as acting goes in movies that she's done, I'm not a huge fan, but I love Ryan Reynolds in what he's done. So I've just been curious because we don't even talk about it because I think based on what I've seen and read, the little bit that I've paid attention, I think Blake Lively started out with something thinking she had the upper hand, and this guy went, nope, I kept everything, motherfuckers. To the point that at his own movie in the premiere, he's hanging out with his family in the basement of whatever venue that they did. Like they wouldn't even let him walk the red carpet. The guy that wrote and directed this fucking thing. And again, I don't know what's true, what's not. I'm not there, but based on what I've seen, he's got a lot of shit that makes what she's saying look very different.
I just remember, they were talking about how she felt pressured, like some like sexy scene or something, and like she was getting exploited and like needed to show what she was gonna do. But then those texts came out and it was like, no, she was the one like wanting, like talking about it, wanting to show him. And then people are like, how is that going to reflect back on Ryan Reynolds? How's he going to feel about that? Like, are they together? Like, is she doing some shady stuff? I don't remember what came of that, but certainly didn't make her look good.
Yeah. And there was another one where she said, she alleged that he burst into her trailer to do some line reading or something. And she was breastfeeding like her baby at the time. And like, she was really uncomfortable with the fact that he just came in, but then he has text messages from her saying she's inviting him into her trailer at the time that and like even mentions the fact that I'm just feeding the baby or whatever. And so it's like, well, which is it? Did he barge in or did you invite him? I am also of the belief that text messages can be fabricated depending on, so I don't know, like, and I don't think we'll ever really know unless it goes to trial, but
yeah.
Anyway, But there's a lot of ugly shit. And look, I'm also of the belief that most of Hollywood's a bunch of ugly shit. I think it's just ripe for problems, and we've seen millions of situations like that. But I don't know. I've always thought Ryan Reynolds was like maybe a little different because he seems like kind of a serious dude in real life, but also seems like he does some cool shit and nice guy.
Well, like the soccer team and all that. Yeah.
But can that can also be construed and edited to make it look
the only
different,
guy that I know is really good is Keanu Reeves. Is always time and time again proven that he's just like a dude.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone or seen anything that says otherwise on Keanu Reeves, but
yeah, he's never stepped in it. But I think you said it best, for me. The reason I didn't really dive into it, it's the same thing about like politics and just the news in general. It's all just depressing, and the world's going downhill. And like, I could depress myself every day, or I could just have to absolutely pay attention when I absolutely have to pay attention.
Yeah.
That's just interesting to me because I didn't know any of the story either, but I do know that Ryan Reynolds is like a marketing genius.
Yeah.
With everything that he's done, from the Wrexham to Mint Mobile to Aviation Gin. Like, and so part of me almost is sitting there going, he's got to have some sort of angle with what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see him getting himself backed into a corner like this, knowing what I know about him, if that makes sense.
Well, and he utilized it. So Saturday Night Live just had their like 50th year anniversary episode a few weeks back. So they had all these massive stars show up, and he was in the audience with Blake Lively sitting next to him. And apparently they rehearsed a line where whoever was giving the monologue at the time said something to Ryan Reynolds and then asked how he was doing and then something else and whatever. But they rehearsed it a certain way, and then he made it different in the live version because they asked him to stand up. So he stands up. They're saying something. I don't even remember what it was. But the guy's like, "How are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm great." Have you heard something? You know what I mean? Like, and you could see Blake go, like, the fuck are you doing? And I was like, ruh-roh. So to your point, like, he obviously is using it to make comedy in Saturday Night Live. And I don't know, maybe to twist it up, but you're right. Like, he's not the guy I would want to go up against in a publicity battle most of the time. Now, Blake Lively's got a lot of rumors that she's difficult to work with, but I, up until that point, hadn't heard much as far as difficulty with Ryan Reynolds. Heard he can be a dick, but that's because he wants shit to be right, and he does things.
JJ's out here reading People magazine every week.
Here's the thing is, I have no interest in this shit, but Casey's so obsessed with Blake Lively, and she likes this It Ends With Us movie. And the movie, and I told her the other day, like, it's not a bad movie. And the material is, it's she falls in love with this guy that is not overtly abusive, but he's abusive, right? And there's this whole pattern of her breaking the It Ends With Us like cycle or whatever. And I want the movie to be successful because I think it's great content and it should be addressed and talked about. But to me, I told Casey, I was like, the problem is, you know, she'll talk about the fact that this guy's, all the rumors that this guy's a piece of shit. And I'm like, regardless of anything that's happened, if he did all these things, then yes, something needs to happen. If she did all these things, something needs to happen. But the problem is the message of this movie is now lost. Like, it means nothing. And so I've been looking into it because she's so into it and like is very one-sided because of what she likes about Blake Lively. And I'm like, so now I hear, but TikTok comes up and all these fucking media pundits are like, "Oh, this guy got her on this one," and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Are we really like trying to compare who got who? Like, can't we just let the truth come out? But anyway, I was just curious if you guys had heard, because now anything that has Ryan Reynolds or Blake Lively, I'm like, it's a little bit tainted right now. So anyway, there it is. Not much to talk about this movie. Let's rate it.
No.
Mattson,
I guess it's me.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 2.5. I think there's a lot to be entertained, some great actors, some good bit pieces. There's far worse things you could watch. There's far worse chick flicks that you could watch. I think this is a movie. The more people you watch it with, like, you're definitely gonna have some spots you laugh at. If you haven't seen it, as far as chick flicks go, I think you'll have a good enough time watching it. Will I watch this movie again? I'm sure it'll be on at some point. And this is one of those movies, especially if it used to be in the day and age of TV, when I used to see a lot of things on. There's certain scenes, if it was on, I'd be like, oh yeah, like, it's a proposal. Oh, this can be a funny part. But there's also so much of this movie that can be forgotten at the same time. So 2.5 for me. I wanted to like it more than what I remember, but it just didn't land as well this time.
Makes sense. Alec?
I'm gonna give it a 2. When I think like rom-com or chick flick, right? I'm entertained. And I'm not very entertained with the proposal. I get bored. And that's like not equated to what I'm used to getting with this romantic comedy or, a chick flick. Because I mean, we've done a few of them on the podcast. We did Guilty Pleasures, and then what was the most recent one with Jennifer Lawrence that we did a while back? Like that stuff where it's entertaining. Yeah. They're chick flicks are never necessarily like the best in cinema, but they're entertaining for the most part. And this one, I get bored. I probably will watch it again, but I will not search it out. So I'll give it a 2.
Fair enough. I'm actually going on the other side of the spectrum. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think what makes it, I've been sweating over it. I mean, obviously I'm very torn with this movie, but I think what it gets right, it gets very right. And I laugh a lot at this movie more. And sometimes I laugh at things like that. I'm like, I really don't want to laugh at this, but I can't help it because it makes me laugh and it's funny. But then there's like I said, there's this piece where I'm just like, they could have written this so much better and still had it be overall and still had those moments that were funny and maybe make it overall a better movie. But there's a lot of places where it struggles. And I will say, to Mattson's point, the longer away from the original watching, like the first time I watched this movie, I thought it was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. But I also really love Ryan Reynolds and I love Sandra Bullock. And so I think that was amplified. The longer it goes, the less about this movie that I like. I still laugh at the staples, but I don't find myself, to your point, Alec, entertained the whole time. Like there's parts I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go grab a snack or a drink, you know what I mean? Because I can walk away before the next funny thing actually happens. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. But it's still, for me, funny enough that I'm going to score it a little higher. I know I'll watch it again because, again, Casey really enjoys it, and it's on our every once in a while playlist where we just need something that's a little different. And so it pops up, and I watch it, and I laugh and wish that I could go hit golf balls into the Alaska Ocean. That was dope as fuck. It's like, what a waste with an island that's your green out there. I'm like, wait a minute. Do you go out and get because then I would think half the fun would be going and fetching the balls. Other than that water has got to be cold as fuck. So anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going to get those balls. Eco-friendly.
Yeah, that's fair. You get the ones that dissolve, but I bet those are expensive. But if you live out there, you don't give a shit about that. Yeah. So there it is. Yeah. Kick off to the chick flick month or romantic comedies. Alec's choice.
There we go.
There you go. So Alec, speaking of, tell everybody where they can find us.
Happy to, JJ. Thank you, like JJ said, for tuning into week 1 of Alec's month. This has been really great. Mattson kicking it off with a real banger. Let us know what you guys think of the proposal. Are we right or are we completely off in left field? And this is the best movie that you've ever seen. If you think so, I'm going to say you're wrong, but you're more than welcome to your own incorrect opinion. Shout out to our patrons, Rich and CB, for the selection. Patreon's a place to get involved at What's Our Verdict Reviews to get picks, choices, and extra content. To really kind of sum it up, we have about the same amount of episodes on our Patreon as we do available on YouTube. So there's a ton of extra content for you guys there, as well as getting involved in what we actually watch. So you can avoid the second month of Alec's choice if that's what you want. With that, I will kick it back to our leader, the Maharaja of MASH, the Wazir of WAP, a JJ.
Much appreciated. Yeah, go check us out on Patreon. It's a lot of fun.
It would have been funny is this being Alex month if he didn't get any picks.
No, but he got both of his fucking picks picked.
I know.
Thank
That would have
you,
been funny.
Rich or CB, whoever picked.
I actually opened up. So here's the fun part. Here's a new announcement.
Ooh.
Because we had some patrons step back a little bit and haven't been quite as involved. Obviously, life happens, and we appreciate that. I've opened up the vote piece to paying or non-paying, so you can just come join us and vote on movies. Now, you won't be able to see the extra content that is for paid members only, but we have ours aren't ridiculous expensive until you get to the part where you get to tell us what to watch every quarter, which we still need to do this quarter, by the way. But yeah, then you can watch the extras, but you can vote every month. So just go join. It's free.
See if the people come support their man of the people.
That's right. That's right. And and that's something else we can start to do too, is like post, when we post the vote, we'll post it on our social media so you can go and check it out and vote. Maybe we'll get some more votes and some more variety. Some more
man of the people over here. Just listen, people. I'll lead you to the promised land.
Oh, Jesus. And on that note, we always appreciate you tuning in.
Ease his pain.
Now it is my pain. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Cinemagic out.
Whoa!